Good evening, everyone. Uh, it's good to see you all, have this time to spend with you and share our practice. Earlier this afternoon, I was taking a walk in Prospect Park. It was quite a warmish, beautiful day. And even though the temperature, was around 60, and I was very grateful for that. Almost all the trees were bare, trees that were luxuriant only a month or two ago are bedraggled and without leaves. So as Bob Dylan said, you don't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. We're only a few days away from the winter solstice. And this is the season. But of course, I could say this is the season just as well in April, when what we call the season looks quite differently. Same thing in August. That too is the season when I say this is the season. So which is the true season? I'm tempted to say that the true season is at this moment the melancholy I feel in my heart when the days have grown so short. And because of that melancholy, I feel that I'm more sensitively attuned to people suffering. Some in my direct acquaintance are suffering quite a lot right now. And of course, the general suffering, you see it every day as you walk around the city, read the news, hear the reports from all around the world. And there's something about this time of year that, unwilling as I might be, somehow makes it easier for me to take it in. So this experience feels like the true season. We're doing a lot to build up our capacity to teach the Dharma online, present the Dharma online, and for that to continue once we're able to be back in the Zendo. And one thing I really love about this online experience is I see each of you in your own individual squares. Each of you is the living truth of the Dharma as I experience it at this moment. And yet every single person is different. Every single person is a different person living in a different place. And yet the truth is right there in each face, in each setting. It's there to be seen, not hidden at all. So those of you who have been around the block in this practice probably have guessed right now that I'm basically coming at the idea of emptiness. basically, where is the truth? Well, it seems to be everywhere. And then you try to grasp it or say, oh, there it is. And somehow you've completely missed it. Ryotan Roshi tried to explain this way of looking at things. I think he was talking to his students, and he was probably drinking from a cup. And he said, each of you is seeing a different cup. I mean, we use the word cup and we can communicate with each other about it. But you're looking at the cup from your angle, and I'm looking at it from mine. No one of us is seeing the same cup. So, which is the true cup? One thing I think that really makes Buddhism different from other religions is all the other religions that I know of, at least in the West, there's the transient reality, the coming and going of life and death, the seasons changing, winter to spring to summer to fall. There's times of general good public health and times of epidemic. But beneath all these changes, according to the way other religions view this, there's an essence, there's a fundamental principle behind all the apparent changes, an eternal principle. It can be called God or Allah, or referred to in any number of ways, but something eternal that stands outside all the endless flux. Buddhism denies that. Buddhism sees the eternal principle in the endless flux. They're undivided, not separate. One way Hakuin Zenji tried to explain this is imagine water, under below 32 degrees, water takes on definite shapes. It can be a cube, or it can be one of those little cute donut shapes that you sometimes find in a drink in a fancy restaurant, or it can be an amoeba-like frozen shape that you see on the sidewalk, which is a puddle that has fallen below 32 degrees. But all of these different shapes are water. But can we say that it's all water? Well, no, not really. At hot temperatures, water becomes a gas, it vaporizes. It's steam. Steam doesn't seem to be anything like a puddle. Puddle doesn't seem to be anything like an ice cube. So what is the true form of water. What is the true season? What is the original face you had before your parents were born? There is a koan. It's kind of a cute one, very, very simple, that gets at this. The koan is like two sentences. It goes, Senjo and her soul are separated. Which is the true Senjo? And of course, there's an old Chinese folk tale behind this koan. Senjo was a beautiful young woman, and she and this boy in her village, Eichu, had grown up together. They came to love each other, and their fathers had even joked, oh yeah, sure, these kids are going to get married when they grew up. But when the time came, Senjo's father, Chozan, picked another boy from a more well-to-do family. Well, when Eichu heard this, he was so sad that he decided he didn't want to spend another day in that miserable village, and he put his meager possessions in a boat and decided he was going to sail downriver to another village so he wouldn't have to see his beloved Senjo married to someone else. And as he was shoving off in the middle of the night, all of a sudden someone calls to him from the bank of the river, and there he sees Senjo. And she says, I can't live without you. I'm going to come with you. And so off they go. They get married and establish their life in another village, have a couple of kids, and time goes by. And eventually Senjo gets a hankering to see her father again and to see her old village again. And the feelings of guilt over disobeying her father's will have become stronger. And Eichu said, I've been feeling the same way. Why don't we go back together and beg your father's forgiveness? So off they go back up the river. And Eichu tells Senjo to wait in the boat. And he said, I'll tell your father what's been going on and beg his forgiveness, and then you come in. And so Eichu meets Chozan and tells him, what's been going on the past few years, and gets down on his knees, begs Chozan's forgiveness. And Chozan is looking more and more gobsmacked. He says, finally, what are you talking about, Eichu? My daughter Senjo has been a total invalid since the day you left. She does nothing but lie in her bed all day and won't speak a word. Eichu says, no, you're wrong. Seichu's just right outside here. We've been married, we've had a family, everything's fine. And Chozan said, all right, show me. And out they go. And there, sure enough, is Senjo. And then they turn and there's the invalid body of Senjo. And the two merge together. And so that's the story that the koan is based on. Senjo and her soul are separated. Which is the true Senjo? We see that life is nothing but coming and going, nothing but constant flux. Nothing stays the same, even for a minute. So where will you find the truth in all this flux? In the Heart Sutra, it says, there's no old age and death, and there's no end to old age and death. What is the truth? Recently, I was reading an article in a magazine written by a woman who had gone to extraordinary lengths to have a child. And her background was interesting, and she framed it in terms of her background. So she came from a family of Black people, African Americans, and a number of people in her family had decided to what they called back in the day to pass. They were light-skinned, and they decided to join the white community and to deny their heritage. And the woman who wrote the article was very into genealogy. And she said there are all these people, all these ancestors who dropped off the family tree. They abandoned their lineage, and there's just blank spots where they would be. And I was in part so determined to have a child because I felt an obligation to continue that lineage, to add the next branch on the tree and not to have it be blank. And so as it turned out, she married a white man. And eventually, after much suffering, they managed to have a child through in vitro fertilization. And this child, like his mother and his grandparents, was very light-skinned. So thinking about the story of Senjo and her soul, I asked myself, well, what is the true child? What is the true lineage? You know, you could write any number of narratives about it. the child is black, or the child is mostly white, but all those are just narratives. What is the true child? Beyond all the narratives, beyond the narratives of black and white, beyond the narrative of race in general. What is the true child? And of course, when I ask that question, I'm not asking that question about some baby that I read about in the magazine that none of us has ever met or will meet. That lineage was continued. This lineage is being continued here in each of your faces, in each of your various ways of walking the path, in each of the feelings that come up in your heart as you contemplate this season, the season of the winter solstice. Dogen Zenji was fond of the formula. I don't think it was original with him. One mind is all dharmas. All dharmas are one mind. Or another way of putting it, the full moon shines on the ocean waves and is reflected in each wave of the ocean. So what is the true season? What is the true child? What is the true lineage? Where do you see the full moon of the Buddha's enlightenment? Where are you seeing it right now?